Hey, what's up, everybody? Hammerheart Metal Reviews here once again. Today we're doing another edition of 5 random albums from my CD collection. You probably know the deal by now. I've been doing one of these every month for, I don't know, a year and a half. Just to kind of have some fun, talk about some albums that maybe I haven't talked about a ton on the channel before, stuff that I've had in the car this week. No rhyme or reason to the albums I'm picking. I try to take a little bit of stuff from different genres, so it's not just 5 black metal albums or 5 power metal albums in the same day. I like to have a good variation in these videos, but no need to ramble on. Let's just see which albums I'm going to talk about today. So to kick it off, we are going to go with some black thrash with Hellripper and the sophomore album here, The Affair of the Poisons. So this is a one-man band from Scotland. I know he's got a lot of acclaim for his most recent album, Warlock Grim and Withered Hags, but this being the sophomore album is definitely worth checking out as well. This is just really straight to the point, very fun, blackened thrash metal. The riffs here just shred. This is relentless from start to finish. It doesn't slow down the pace at all, and it's just going to put a smile on your face. It's evil, and just the way that I like my blackened thrash metal, he captures that 80s vibe of stuff like early Bathory, Sodom, stuff like that, but throwing in his own like trademark sound here, and you just got great song titles like Blood Orgy of the She-Devils, Spectres of the Blood Moon Sabbath, Beyond the Covenant Wall, Savage Blasphemy. My favorite track is probably the title track to kick off the album. Just all in all, a nice solid dose of black and thrash metal. It's only like half an hour long, so you just put it on. It's done before you know it. But yeah, all in all, a very solid album. Up next, we're going to go with some progressive metal from the 80s with Queensryche and their debut full-length, The Warning. So they did have an EP, self-titled EP before this that was awesome. And this is actually my favorite Queensryche album. I know most people would say Operation Mindcrime would be their favorite, but this one just does something different for me. It just strikes a chord with me more than most of their other albums do. Yes, it's maybe a little more stripped back in the songwriting approach, a little more straightforward, not as progressive and experimental as an album like Operation Mindcrime, but I just love the vibe here, and some of my favorite Queensryche songs are on this album. Take Hold of the Flame, Before the Storm, Roads to Madness. Like, all in all, this album easily is my favorite Queensryche album. It's not even close, actually. This is the one I go back to far more than any other. You got Jeff Tate's amazing vocals. The guitar work here is great too. It almost has like a new wave of British heavy metal sound to it. Still, that influence was with them at this stage in their career before they kind of started expanding and experimenting a little bit different. It's not that I don't like their future albums, but to me, this one just really hit the sweet spot. It's my favorite by them for a reason. All right, up next, something completely different. Let's go with some gothic doom with hints of death metal in there as well. Is Draconian with the album Under a Godless Veil. So this album is their most recent album. I mean, the band's been around for quite some time. If you're unfamiliar with them, think like My Dying Bride, Paradise Lost, Anathema, stuff in that vein, the gothic doom metal with those deep guttural death metal vocals, but then they brought in this great female vocalist for this album and the one before. I mean, they always had a female vocalist, but it was a different one than their original female vocalist from their first few albums. She's been on this album and the one before. Now she's no longer in the band, but she just adds this ethereal beauty to these songs, and it just elevated it. Like, it's just beautiful stuff. Like, even though it's crushing doom on one aspect, it's like beautiful and soothing at the same time. They just really captured this gothic vibe perfectly, and like, I absolutely love this album. Got songs like Sleepwalkers is just beautiful. Claw Marks on the Throne, Sorrow of Sophia. All in all, front to back, this album is just amazing. I absolutely love the whole atmosphere that just draws you in with these gorgeous, clean female vocals, and then the crushing male death metal vocals as well. And yeah, just a great doom album that you should definitely go check out if you're unfamiliar with them. All right, switch it up completely once again. We're gonna go with some traditional heavy metal with Attic and their second album, Sanctimonius. So if you are unfamiliar with this band, they are from Germany, and the best way that they're going to get described, and fairly or unfairly so, is that they're basically King Diamond and Merciful Fate imitators. I don't think that's a fair assessment. That sells them short. Sure, the vocalist sounds an awful lot like King Diamond. Like, you can mistake him for King Diamond easily. Like, I put this CD on, or any of their CDs for that matter. My wife's always like, I don't recognize that King Diamond song. I'm like, well, that's because it's not King Diamond. But yeah, the vocalist sounds so much like King Diamond. But musically, they bring in some elements of black metal with some blast beats here and there, some tremolo riffing. Got great dual guitar work as well. Like, all in all, this is just a really nice concept story. The album is really well put together. It has like a whole fold out map here. Yeah, this is their sophomore album. Their newest one, Return of the Witchfinder, was amazing as well. I'd be hard pressed. I like both of them better than the debut. The debute's still decent, but this one and their newest one are both absolutely amazing. Yeah, if you're into Merciful Fate and King Diamond and haven't checked out Attic yet, definitely give them a chance. Like, don't just write them off as an imitator. They still do their own thing here. He still puts his own spin on the vocals, and musically they do some different stuff as well. But just a really cool concept. All in all, a goddamn great album. All right, that just leaves one. I can't do one of these videos without at least including one black metal album. And so for today, we're going to talk about some atmospheric black metal, a band I've mentioned a few times on this channel, but I've never really talked about this album. I'm going with the debut by Belore, Through Mountains and Valleys. So at the time here, this was a one-man band from France. He has since added a drummer for his second and third albums. Those albums I have talked about quite often on the channel, being Artifacts was the sophomore album, and why can't I think of what the newest one was called now? Well, Eastern Tales, I think it was called, from last year. Those are both absolutely outstanding albums, but don't write off the debut as well. Yes, the drums are programmed, so that could always be a drawback, but this is just gorgeous atmospheric black metal. Think like influences of bands like Summoning, Caladan Brood, similarities to bands like Sojourner or Can Bard. You got the harsh, raspy black metal vocals and some clean vocals in there as well. And just his melodies that he writes is really what stands out here, bringing in some different instrumentation, and just the way that he writes his songs, it's got this great sense of melody, and he's just all in all a great songwriter. So don't skip this debut either. I know I've talked about the other albums quite a bit, but definitely grab this one as well if you're into atmospheric black metal. Just really solid stuff. Gorgeous album cover there as well. So yeah, that's the 5 albums for today. If you haven't heard some of those, definitely go check them out. Let me know what you think of any of those. Give me 5 random albums from your collection. I always like to read that kind of stuff too. And anyways, until next time, I'm Heart Metal Reviews. Out.